young people in Gen Z, if they have a biblical sexual ethic, if they believe marriage is between one man and one woman for one lifetime, they're not just being told they're wrong or old-fashioned. They're actually being told you're actually hurting people because you believe
Yeah.
this, and you're
Yeah.
being anti-Christian. You're being unchristian to hold such a view. Jesus would never hold that view. And so it's very confusing, I think, for young people to sort through that, and figuring out, okay, how are we defining our words? Where are we getting our information for truth? Where do we get our sexual ethics? And what's the standard we're using to argue for our view? And I think that they're very vulnerable in that area because they genuinely do love their friends and they want to accept their friends, and they don't necessarily know what that means.
I think part of the difficulty is, I just wrote this phrase down, language onslaught. Maybe that's not the best way of characterizing it, but I just think the rhetorical game is so important. Somebody once said, if words lose their meaning, then people lose their lives. And it shows the importance of how words are used. The word that came to mind when you were describing how the pushback that Christians get who are holding to a biblical ethic on sex is the word erase. I'd never heard that until about 6 or 7 months ago, but now this word is used a lot. If you think that any of these sexual varieties are not right, they're not God's purpose, they're immoral, regardless of how you're treating the individual. It's just your view. It's a suppression by ideology, part of the critical race theory structure. Then you're erasing the person who's like that. Mm-hmm. You're erasing me. That's the language that's being used. So I become like nothing. See what you're doing to me. No, this is it's inaccurate and it's unfair. It's manipulative because what if we said you're erasing me?
Yeah.
If you're dissing my views about sexuality, the conservative, no, we wouldn't do that. None of us would do that because we don't. If you pardon the way of putting it, we don't play that game. But the left does this with language all the time, and this is something you mentioned a few moments ago, Alisa, about we have to help them understand the meanings of these words. If you're called a bigot, if you're called narrow-minded, if you're erasing people, you're being cruel, you're being mean. Well, no Christian wants to be cruel or mean because those are virtues, but this virtue has been twisted into a vice the way it's being applied to these issues.